Frances Taylor was thrilled to be asked to spend a repertory season performing at Little Haven Theatre in... No, it's best not to say where it was exactly, as it's no longer there. Suffice to say, it was located in a sleepy backwater coastal town. The audition had gone well, and after a lean resting spell she was keen to start, especially as the opening play in the season was to be a production of Emlyn Williams's The Morning Star. Frances adored plays written and set in that era. She often felt she would have loved to have lived during that time, and gaining a role in that play seemed not so much serendipity as almost preordained. So, it was with a spring in her step that she arrived at the theatre for the first day's rehearsal, only to be confronted with a slightly uneasy atmosphere in the rehearsal room. This she put down to the usual first-day nerves of people getting to know each other and the prospect of bringing a play from page to stage. After a couple of days, the nervousness had dissipated, and Frances found herself immensely enjoying being part of a company and the joy that being around fellow creatives can bring. Still, she felt an unsettling aura, which she came to realise wasn't coming from the people around her, but the venue itself. She had always possessed an uncanny sensory ability when it came to past events in a place or building. During a break, Frances fell into conversation with another actor who told her, during the war, the theatre was badly damaged from a leftover bomb dropped by a plane on its way back to Germany. It killed many people, including the cast. "So the place is haunted," replied Frances. Her definitive pronouncement somewhat disconcerted her colleague. "Well, they are said to appear on stage on the anniversary of the raid. A tradition came about that the theatre is kept dark on that day, and extra performances are given or rehearsals scheduled instead. The current management want to change that, though." "When is the anniversary?" asked Frances. "Tonight," came the answer. An overwhelming curiosity in Frances made her resolve to spend the evening in the theatre. Once the day's rehearsals were over, she signed out with the rest of the cast, but then pretended to have forgotten something and slipped back inside without the stage doorkeeper noticing. She hid herself in a cubbyhole she had found earlier and waited. As soon as she felt that no one was left, Frances emerged from her hiding place and checked her watch. It was 7:10, or the 15-minute call time. Frances made her way to the stage and found a chair which she placed centre stage and sat down. She considered all the people who had performed in the very same theatre throughout the decades, especially those who had been there providing entertainment in those darkest of days when a bomb fell, violently obliterating them. She sincerely believed that an event like that must leave some kind of imprint. Lost in reverie, Frances stood up and wandered over to the wide wings at stage right. She glanced at her watch, which read 7:25, or the Act 1 beginner's call. Frances then stepped back out onto the stage and saw that the curtains were now fully closed. She also now noticed that the house lights and audience chatter had imperceptibly faded up. Confused, but not perturbed, she sat back in the chair she had placed earlier, and then the curtains were drawn. The stage lights came up as the house lights dimmed, and she found herself surrounded by the props and furniture of a country house from a much earlier period. Briefly, she saw the outline of figures near her. But the blinding lights intensified to such a degree that she fell into unconsciousness. Frances Taylor was found dead the following day, sat on a chair in the middle of the stage with an enigmatically happy smile on her face. The first curious aspect was that she was wearing an outfit from the Second World War era, despite the fact that the door to the costume department was securely locked and her own clothes were nowhere to be found. The second curious aspect was that shortly afterwards a scrapbook was found of old reviews and reports. Emlyn Williams's play, The Morning Star, was the one being performed when the bomb hit the theatre. And listed in the cast was one Francis Taylor. Past Performance was performed by Nonnie Lewis, and it was written and produced by Benjamin Peel.